This is a Business's Mission podcast. Business's Mission. I'm Gaya Gord, your host.
The transition from living for God to living with Him. It's not complicated, but it's life-changing.
Listeners, here we are again. It's good to be with you every 2 weeks. And this time I will talk with Bill. In our last episode, we focused on listening, seeing people, listening to them, just having time for people. And I already touched on the question, but there doesn't seem to be enough time to do that. So Bill, thank you for being with us today and for being able to question you. How do we do this with the Lord? Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Gay. It's great to see you again. And just for the sake of our listeners, I didn't give a really good answer last time because I have the benefit of having a staff that's trained. But
Bill?
what if, yes.
Maybe you can recapture our last talk for our listeners.
Okay, Gay, you asked me if a leader, particularly a business leader, a manager, is supposed to spend time just being with people, how in the world could he do that and all of the other tasks that he has to do? Because if you don't have a trained staff yet, if you're still in that process, you're wearing every hat in the company and you're probably going 12 hours a day and you feel like you have no time to stop and take a break or have a meal. And it's overwhelming. And I've heard people say,
I'm one of them. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So on our last episode, I kind of felt almost a little bit sorry for our listeners. You know, you had this wonderful, glowing talk about how you see people, how you love them, how you spend a few days memorizing the names of your staff. I mean, we're talking about 70 people, in Chinese names.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I don't have 70 people on my staff. Maybe when I would have them, I might have the time. So Bill, we like to hear from you. What are some of the things you have discovered? How can we do this?
Well, one of the things I discovered is I don't have to do everything. I just have to do the important thing that he wants me to do. And in this journey of learning about this, I discovered a very un-American value or un-American skill. So it's very important in the American culture that people show initiative. I'm running very quickly in the opposite direction. I don't want to show initiative.
I know, Bill, when you are around and when we go to a restaurant and I ask you, where do you want to sit or what you want to do? You're like, you choose. I want to keep my choosing ability to the important things, something like that, right?
Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure how people experience my companionship, but that does sound kind of similar. So
yeah.
Let's go back to the question from another angle. Who would be the busiest person in the universe and how did they manage their schedules is a valid question. And so I think that the one who had the most to accomplish would probably have been Jesus. He's actually handling the task of saving the entire world. It's a pretty big deal and there's lots to do. And so if we look at him and ask, well, Lord, how did you decide what to do every day? I believe his answer would be, I didn't have to make that decision. I got that from my Father because I actually never said anything or did anything that he didn't tell me to do. So we worked on that together. I just felt him guiding me into what was important to do. And if you look at his ministry, he didn't do everything that could be done, but he did do everything that should be done. And I think we can mimic more of that than we may often think. If I run off with the typical American value of showing a lot of self-initiative, then the weight is all on my shoulders, not just to decide what to do, but to do it. When I began to learn more about what does walking with God really do for us, it actually took some of the weight off to decide what to do. If I asked him, Lord, what do you want to do today? What do you want to do this morning? What do you want to do in the next hour? And then I just learned to recognize his voice and respond. But then there's something else associated with it. It's not just knowing what to do, but how to do it. And so in the beginning, I might get a direction from him on what to do, and then I would run off and try to do it on my own. And that's where some people get confused because they go, this doesn't work very well. I'm still exhausted and I'm not doing, so much of the stuff I need to do. And so it's a combination of, Lord, show me what to do and then show me how to do it. And so just as an example, he said, I want you to memorize the names of the people in the company. And there's lots of ways to do that. So I followed up with another question. Lord, show me how to do that. And I immediately got the question of, why don't you go ask AI what a good method for memory is? It's kind of common sense. And it recommended an app, and I used the app, and it was really wonderful. And so when I put the employees' pictures up and they would kind of cycle through like flashcards, as soon as I see a face, I feel his love for that person. And so it's the method of how do we do what he wants us to do. Now, let's say that I'm starting yeah, go ahead.
Bill, I think that means also a great deal of letting go of other people's expectations. Did you feel that over the years that, okay, when you are like, hey, I feel this is what the Lord asked me to do, and maybe he didn't ask you to help with cleaning the kitchen or cooking dinner or I'm kind of maybe talking now about some of the things I'm doing, but did that mean that sometimes you let people down or that they feel they are let down?
I'm sure they did. I'm sure that happened many times. And there's an associated feeling that many people had, which was, you're not very professional. And I remember hearing from one consultant that he said, you'll never make a factory manager, but you might make I think it was a kindergarten teacher or something. And so he's evaluating me based on the skill sets that I can demonstrate or my history. But there is this sort of a secret weapon in the kingdom which says it's never going to be about us being capable. It's only really about his being capable, what he makes us capable for. And so if I'm in alignment doing the things he wants me to do, and let's say that there's 12 jobs that need to be done this morning when I go to work. If I ask, Lord, which one of the jobs do you want me to do? Do you want me to give my attention to? He says, let's do number 7 first. If I'm not adequate for number 7, let's say it's a finance issue or something, and I don't have any financial training. If he wants me to do number 7, he will give me the adequacy for number 7. And then he might say, well, let's do number 12 next. That's the next one. And so I can be led throughout the day to do the things he wants me to do kind of in the order. But it's so helpful for me not to grab the task and run away and do it, but to say, okay, Lord, you need to be my adequacy for this task. So would you show me how to do that? And it's a process of just incorporating him gradually and being real kind to yourself. Don't be pushy, don't be harsh, and don't be dissatisfied, don't be frustrated with yourself. But it's just learning to walk with God. Not just what do we do, but how do we do what he says to do? And so his priority system, I think, will be perfect for the day. He knows everything about the company. He knows all of the needs that are there. He knows customers, suppliers, orders, finance, personnel. He knows all of those areas. And if he hasn't sent someone into the team to be the financial manager or to be the production manager, I may have to wear those hats for a while, but he'll always provide adequacy for whatever he tells me I need to do. It's kind of simple.
Yeah, but this means this means not going on our intuition or a kind of natural response like, this needs to be done today, this needs to be done today. Do you really? I'm kind of thinking now, there's a whole load of laundry there. So do I ask everything? Or is there some things you just naturally do? Or is it I'm seeking here, Bill?
You mentioned intuition. I think he's very close to intuition. A lot of times people want to know, well, how is it that you hear God? I think you sometimes hear him through intuition. And so we may say that I'm intuiting something, or I'm thinking of something, when in fact we're receiving an idea from him. We personalize it and think we're creating an idea, but actually we're just receiving it. So I pay a lot of attention to intuition because it's a place where he can guide us from. Yeah.
But still, I'm kind of seeking. Are you you mentioned before that you in one of our podcasts that you are, the how many minutes pause, and so every moment you're like, okay, do I do the laundry? What are you saying, Lord? Or my son is now visiting, or do I have coffee with him? Are you really sensing God guiding you in all these daily details?
It may not be as obvious as you think, but let's say I'm thinking of all the things. I feel a little pressure of a whole bunch of things to do, but then I think of the laundry, and all of a sudden I get a sense of peace, and I interpret it as, oh, that's the one I feel good about right now. Let's go to the one I feel good about. And I'll go through that first. But when I do the laundry, I'm still trying to abide, still trying to walk with God with doing the laundry. So you can do it with joy, or you can do it with, "Oh, shoot, we got to do laundry." It's another task in the way of the important things. But if it's what you think He wants you to do it with joy and then move on to the next thing.
Isn't that another of your secrets, to do everything with joy?
Yeah, but it's not a secret if He's commanded us to do it.
No, but that means that life is more energetic. That I think I believe in holistic, that what we do in our minds, in our spirit, that it affects our body, that it affects our energy. I'm, trying to unpack Bill Job's way of life here.
Well, I think I shared last time the little episode of when I had loaded our car up, and I don't have a garbage service coming to the house, so I load the garbage up periodically and take it to the dump. All these big old black bags, and they don't smell great. And so it was early in the morning, and I was making a run to the garbage dump, and the Lord reminded me I wasn't very high on the joy meter right then. And as soon as He reminded me, it just jumped right up to an 8. And you caught me. You're exactly right. I should not be going to the dump with a number 2 on the joy meter. And so it just automatically popped right up, and I realized that, yeah, that's the normal. I should be joyful in everything. And it makes everything you do different. It makes it easier to do, more efficient. So yeah, you learn to do it kind of intuitively over time. It's not an effort. It's a habit. And as a habit, it just happens more naturally for you.
So, Bill, do you have, we talked about practical things that help us in our walk. How do you advise business owners, maybe a small that they don't have yet many people to, give their jobs to? Are there over the years that you are reminded of, hey, this really helped me to? So what I hear you say is, walk with the Lord, the abide in Him, not taking ourselves, that's a theme that keeps coming back, not taking ourselves so seriously. But, and I think over the years that you have experienced how God came through when you didn't pick it up, when you didn't feel I need to do this because I'm the end responsible, I should do it, that you were more able to leave it on the table and expect God to come through?
It's a great question, Gaia, and it's definitely been a progression, and there's regression. So I'm kind of making some progress, and then sometimes I'll drop back and I'll have to relearn some other things. But if we fundamentally remember that this is just a relationship, take away the pressure for performance for a bit and ask yourself the question, how do I just grow in this relationship? How do I build it? One of my, quote, secrets that people think is a secret, but it's not supposed to be a secret at all, is the time we spend together and what do we do. So typically before I get up, I've spent time in worship. I love worship songs that are crafted beautifully because I'm not a wordsmith. I don't know how to do that well. But when I read along with the lyrics of a song that say these wonderful things to Him, that may be one of the most important things that happens. And so I'm probably singing along with Him like 3 to 4 hours a day. Say worship or praise. I make a difference between worship and praise, where you can identify by the pronouns in a song. If I'm speaking to God, I'm saying you are wonderful. So the second person, that would be worship. If I'm speaking to other people, I would say He is wonderful. Third person. And so right now we're just talking about second person worship songs. It really matters relationally. If I can say things to him that he loves to hear. And so it takes away the practicality side of things or the utilitarian side. I don't want to be coming to him constantly with requests. That's not healthy relationally. Have you ever seen someone in your life who never speaks back to you, never gives to you, never invests in it? They're just always asking things from you. You know, you don't feel good about that relationship. It's not healthy. And so often when people think prayer is primarily asking for help, and it is, but if that's mainly what it is, and we're proud of ourselves for spending a lot of time in prayer, it's almost like saying, yeah, I'm proud of myself for spending a lot of time asking God for things. There's a season when that's good to develop and go through, and there's nothing wrong with that. Unless there's nothing else in it, and then it's a one-sided relationship issue. So I would encourage folks who want to make progress with this, kind of to forget about the whole issue of what is it that we do and how do we do it, and just invest time telling the Lord how wonderful He is, how much you love Him. I'm actually signed up for a singing course. Gail, you've never heard me sing because I'm not very good at it. And I have friends who are, but I want to learn how to sing better so that when I sing to him, it sounds better. And it's just a way to
So
invest in the relationship.
you don't do it for me. You don't do it for Kitty or.
I think I would have to become much better before that would be a pleasant experience to you or to Kitty.
So are you preparing for heaven, Bill? So you want to sing along with the angels?
Maybe. My wife says that I'm not what you call an independent singer, so let's not do any solos. But if you put me in a choir, I can get lost and be hidden and do okay there.
So you are indeed taking singing lessons, Bill.
It's a little online course that you can sign up for. So, but it's the point relationally. I would like to be better at that just because of him and who he is. I don't want to be singing praises to him and see him put his hands over his ears and go, oh no.
There is dear Bill. He means it well.
Yeah, it's a way to invest in the relationship. And so singing worship songs is a way to invest in the relationship. I think among the forms of communication between the owner of the company that we're talking about and being a steward, the best communication is worship, where the steward is just saying to the owner how absolutely wonderful this journey is, how much he loves being with the owner, being called to be a steward, learning to walk and learning to partner with him.
I love, your enthusiasm about singing and worship. But I'm thinking of our listener. I'm thinking of me, Pat, and knowing that many of our listeners, we are a business as mission podcast, so people run businesses. And we are not talking to nuns and priests, who are sitting in their quiet monastery or whatever. I know you run a business. I know you have a lot of other responsibilities too. So I think there is here also a deep faith that we don't feel we have to be so productive, that God can help us and make us productive. Because I'm kind of thinking, we developed this cohort, and I felt it was miraculous that how quickly it came together. People following the cohort, they go, oh, the time you put into this. And yes, I did put time into this, getting it all. But I kind of, what you are saying and where you share about that, it's like receiving downloads, receiving from the Lord when things need to be produced or things need to be, talking about business that is about production. Is that something that you will want to add to this, or that you say don't worry about that? Let's worship the Lord. Let's spend the relationship. How would you answer to this?
That's a great question, Gaia, because people have all sorts of interpretations of the words that I'm using, and I may be using them in a very different way. And so let's say that before I go to work, I spend some time talking with the Lord, and it may only be 1 minute that's useful. Communication with the Lord doesn't require a lot of time. It requires authenticity, sincerity, and he even says, Look, when you pray, don't think I'm impressed with a lot of words. It's not about the length of your prayer. And so the kinds of things that we're talking about can be very quick and very efficient. If I have the time, I may want to spend more time, but you don't have to have a lot of time. So, 5 minutes focusing just on the way to work can set you up for the whole day. And in terms of what I'm talking about. And then it's an issue of let's just stay connected for the first thing we do. Let's do it together. Let's do the second thing together. Let's do the third thing together. Let's, plan for the podcast. Let's plan together. And you look back and you go, wow, that happened a lot faster than I thought it would have, because you recognize that by doing it together, you're doing a better job of resource management. He's your best resource, and you're actually managing him as a resource into the task to be done today, into the workload. And if there's something you need to learn that you haven't really experienced and there's no one else there to do it, he can give you a download for that particular task. And it could be writing, it could be mathematics, it could be finance related.
Send people our way. I remember a few weeks ago we talked with Paul Unsworth, the Baptist pastor who started a bakery and a lunchroom in downtown
Yes.
London. And I really liked how he put it. It's like a kind of a deep faith. I don't know exactly the words, but how it came across to me is like God can give us faith for something.
Mhm.
And we might not be able to all do it, but he can supply, like in his case, he started a bakery and he didn't know much about bakery, but then he had this young student, this lady who then later, I think, received all kind of awards, but
That's
she
right.
was so capable. And is that what you have experienced also?
Yes. So, in light of the fact that we don't have to be capable ourselves for everything, he makes us adequate. He makes other people adequate also. And he can make someone adequate for a task that needs to be done in the company, and he brings them there, or he identifies them already in the company. And we haven't seen that they have that ability, and he awakens us to it. We give them opportunity, and they begin to really grow and to flourish in that. So if the company is his, then the responsibility to get the qualifications there is also his in my mind. I know probably a lot of people don't think of it that way, but you can ask him to provide the team, the skills, the resources, and you can look around and find out, he's actually been trying to get this person. Unfortunately, they couldn't pass a normal interview process, but he wants them in his company for these reasons. And so we have to be sensitive to just going where he is. I love what Paul was saying, because the scripture says he's the author and finisher of our faith. Well, that means he begins it. We don't have to do much on our own in the Christian experience. If he provides for us, even our faith, our direction, he is so much more of a resource than we realize.
Then also another practical question, over the past years, I heard you say, well, the company in China, I'm not sure if it was losing money, but kind of on the edge.
Mhm.
Do you see change? Have you seen change over the years? And I mean, this was not, sometimes I hear people, they hear the story of you when you really needed a few 100,000 for the company to continue, and that came in a couple of weeks. Well, I've talked with you and walked with you over these past 2 years, and I know that the company in China wasn't doing for a long time very well.
Mm.
Is it doing better now?
It actually is now. It's a great time to ask that question because it is doing much better.
I think I asked that question before too, so.
But let me go back and drill down and honor you in this question by saying it doesn't always go well. There are times when there's real challenges. One of the reasons is that we live in a world at war, and there are forces set against our walking with the Lord, forces that don't want us to learn how to do that. And so we also need to learn how to survive that context, which is a spiritual battle. Sometimes that's very intense, and sometimes it's not so intense.
And isn't that also to train us? Like, is it James 1 where it says, count it for joy when there are difficulties? So is
Yes.
that also part of our walk?
It is part of the walk, and it has to be given respect. It has to be given attention. I have lots of fun stories and I tend to tell them, but there's difficult stories too. There's real pain and there's real loss and there's real challenges. And we're not batting 1,000 in the baseball meeting. We're hitting some successes and sometimes we don't. And when we don't, I usually assume that I haven't been trained in that area, that I accept the responsibility for not knowing what I could have known that would have been helpful to get out of that. But learning how to have, effective weapons. Like I have been asking him for some time now, will you show me the weapons that we've been entrusted with for the spiritual battle? Because if we don't know the weapons and don't practice with them, we're probably going to lose some of those battles when they come our way. And so that's always been really interesting to me. And it's a more hostile environment than what often our podcasts may indicate if we're telling just good stories. So we live in a world at war. It's difficult.
Well, that raises other questions. What kind of weapons did you discover? But we are towards the end of our podcast. And thank you, Bill, for sharing your story, sharing your walk, and for asking or for answering my pruning questions. And is there something that you say, hey, I like to close with this thought? Which thought would you like to close with?
One of the businesses that we're working on, we developed a vertical farm to first be a response to the Chinese people as a counterpoint for my ancestors pushing opium through that port city for hundreds of years. And this would be a gesture of giving them a righteous business. And we just this last couple of weeks have gotten traction with the government over there that they want to invest in this. They want to take it and grow with it. I had thought that this was a lost exercise, that I had lost my way and it was never going to be actually activated or doing what it was intended to do. And so I want to encourage our listeners that if you have areas in your life that you feel like where you just missed the point, where you got off track, ask the Lord to show you if that's in fact the case, or if he could put things back on track for you. So this is one of those cases where it looks like it's actually going to end up being what God asked me to do initially, but it has been a wandering path to get back to that. So it is an encouragement to me, and I just wanted to share that with our audience.
So that sometimes when our audience, when our listeners, hey, I feel I'm wandering around, that he could make a path unexpectedly.
Yeah, out of the blue.
Thank you, Bill, for this time together.
Thank you, Gaia, for leading us in these conversations. I'm always I enjoy it so much.
Well, that's mutual, and we hope our listeners too, which I think our audience keeps growing. So thank you, Bill. It was good talking to you.
Blessings to you, Gaia.
Do you seek to integrate your faith with your business? Bill and I will start our next online training, Kingdom Mindsets for Business. We invite you to join this inspiring and hands-on 10-week journey with business people from around the world. Learn more on bammoves.com. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back with another episode of the podcast Kingdom Keys for Business, Life and Work. And you'll find more episodes on our channel on YouTube.